The movie begins right away with some action. A red car stops on the street in front of a bank. 3 professional robbers, Buddy, Darling, and Griff, get out of the car and rush into the bank. The getaway driver is a young man who is called Baby. He waits in the red car while the robbers do their dirty work in the bank. One thing you need to know about Baby is that he's a melomaniac. He listens to the song Bell Bottoms and has a great time. A few moments later, the robbers return to the car and Baby does his job. He drives them away while listening to the song with his headphones blaring. He drives around the city and tries to lose the police, who follow them from all sides. Baby's driving skills are of a very high standard. This can be seen when he drives evasively through many obstacles in his path. Soon a police helicopter joins the chase and Baby reaches 2 red cars. The 3 pass under a bridge and Baby tricks the police by switching places with a car. Baby manages to get away, enters a parking lot, switches cars, and escapes. Later, Baby gets coffee for the whole team while listening to Harlem Shuffle. He takes the coffee and enters a building with a robbery crew where their employer, Doc, an insightful man, is waiting for them. Doc splits the robbery money while Griff asks Doc why Baby constantly listens to music. Griff tries to intimidate the young man, but Baby ignores him. Eventually, they each take their share and leave. Doc takes most of Baby's share to repay his debt. He gives him $10,000, a pair of gloves, and a new disposable phone. He tells him he will call him soon for another job. Baby goes home where he lives with a foster father named Joseph. Baby keeps his share of the stolen money hidden inside the floorboards. Joseph tells Baby to avoid shady jobs because it doesn't belong to him. Later, Baby takes the recordings of his meeting with Doc and the other robbers and remixes their voices into a song. He has a cassette tape with all the various recordings named and remixed into songs. In the middle of it all is a cassette tape labeled Mom. He remembers his good times with Mom every time he listens to it. Her parents used to fight very often, and one day, they died in a car accident while fighting. Sometime later, Baby goes to a diner and sees a beautiful waitress named Deborah. She walks past him singing a song, and Baby records her humming with a tape recorder. Soon, Deborah returns to take his order and sees him recording. They chat, and Baby asks her what song he is singing. Later, he goes to a music store and finds the exact song. One day, Baby gets a call from Doc offering him a new job. Baby goes to his boss, who introduces him to his new team, Eddie, No-Nos, JD, and Bats. The new team also wonders why Baby is constantly listening to music. Doc says it is because of the accident he had as a child. This left him with tinnitus, so he uses music to drown out the buzzing. This is the last job Baby has to do for Doc to repay his debt. Doc explains the plan to everyone while Baby listens to a new song. Bats thinks Baby is not listening to the plan, and Doc asks him detailed questions that Baby answers perfectly. The next day, the group arrives at their destination and finds the armored van. Baby waits in the car listening to a song while the others go to rob it. Bats kill the guard of the van and then go back to the car. Baby escapes, but in the process, a Marine starts following them in his van. Bats tries to shoot the Marine, but Baby tries to avoid him. In a moment, Bats is about to shoot the Marine, but Baby pulls back to prevent the madman from killing him. Baby drives down the highway tracks, losing the crashing Marine. The group gets stuck in traffic, so they abandon the car and steal another car from a woman with a baby. JD says he lost his rifle, but they can't turn back. Baby leads the gang to a parking lot, and they change cars again. Bats is upset because Baby purposely made him miss the Marine shot. Baby denies it, and then they return to Doc to split their shares. Surprisingly, Baby sees only Bats and Eddie, so Doc gives Baby his share of the profit and asks him to get rid of JD's dead body in the car's trunk. Apparently, the police would get to JD because of his gun, so they had to get rid of him. Baby takes the car to the junkyard and wrecks it, but then has flashbacks to his childhood. Baby goes to the usual diner where Deborah works. They chat about songs, and when Deborah learns his name, she cannot believe it is actually Baby. Later, they leave the diner and go to a laundromat. They chat more about themselves, and he tells her about his hearing problems after the accident when he lost his parents. Baby takes Joseph's advice and finds a normal job. He gets hired as a pizza delivery boy and starts hanging out with Deborah more and more often. One night, Baby takes Deborah to a fancy restaurant and, in the process, notices Doc. He approaches him and Doc offers to ask him to work for his other robberies. Doc threatens Baby to harm Deborah and Joseph if he refuses. The next day, the Doc takes Baby to a post office to plan his next robbery. Doc orders Baby to search the inside of the post office and asks him to take his grandson Sam with him so as not to arouse suspicion. When Baby and Sam enter the post office, the protagonist scores the place for cameras, windows, customers, and open clerks. Surprisingly, Sam lists to him how many cameras, windows, and employees the office has. They then interact with a friendly cashier and return to the car to report the details to Doc. Later, Baby calls Deborah at the diner and asks her to run away with him. Baby goes to meet Doc to plan the new robbery, and there he sees Buddy, Darling, and Bats. In doing so, Doc goes against his personal code of not using the same crew for more than one heist. Doc explains their plan for the post office and asks the gang to buy new weapons from the butcher, an arms dealer. They drive to the meeting place, but on the way, Bats asks Baby to stop at a store. When they stop, Darling tells her boyfriend that Bats looks at her strangely and makes her feel uncomfortable. Buddy asks if she wants him to kill him, but Darling does not want him to do so before the robbery. Later, the gang reaches the warehouse and the butcher shows the gang guns and rifles. Suddenly, Bats shoots the butcher and a gunfight ensues. During this, Darling is shot in the arm and Bats is on a rampage. They then leave the warehouse and Bats throws a grenade inside a car, blowing up the whole place. Bats tells the gang that those were cops and they did the right thing. On the way back, Bats asks Baby to stop the diner. Baby knows that Deborah is still working and refuses. Nevertheless, Bats forces him to stop. When they enter the diner, Deborah sees Baby worried and takes orders without letting them know she knows him. Deborah brings the bill and Bats pulls out a gun to avoid paying $20. Baby grabs Bats' hand and stops him. The madman realizes that Baby knows her and leaves the diner without fussing. Baby pays the bill and leaves a note for Deborah. Road trip at 2 a.m. The gang returns to Doc and he says the mission has failed. Bats tells him that the butcher and his men were cops and that they shot them first. Buddy and Darling back him up while Baby looks at them with distrust. Doc knows that in 24 hours, the cops will send all forces to them, and he plans to call off the robbery. The three insist on taking the risk anyway, and Doc asks Baby what he wants to do. He says they should sleep and do the job in the morning. Later that night, Baby tries to sneak off at 2 a.m. to meet up with Deborah, but is suddenly stopped by Buddy and Bats. Both become suspicious of Baby, and Bats pulls out his tape recorder and knocks him out. Later, Baby awakens at Doc's table. Baby says they are just remix tapes and plays some of them. Meanwhile, Deborah waits for Baby in the diner. The next morning, the gang goes to the scene of the heist. Buddy has to take Darling as a fake hostage while Bats sneaks in. Baby waits in the car and notices the cashier he met on the day when he was at the post office. He nods at her and tells her not to go in. She turns back and returns with the guard. The guard approaches Baby's car, but suddenly the gang returns and Bats shoots down the guard. Suddenly, Baby doesn't start the car and Bats threatens him with a gun. Furious, Baby presses the accelerator and drives up to a truck with iron rods sticking out of it, resulting in Bats' death. Soon after, the police arrive and the group tries to escape. Buddy and Darling shoot some policemen while others chase Baby. Baby runs through the city and enters a shopping mall to change his appearance. But the police find him and continue to chase him. He exits the building and steals a car to catch up with Buddy and Darling. In a shootout, Darling is killed by the cops and Baby escapes and steals an old woman's car. He plays a song on the radio and returns the old lady's purse before leaving. Baby returns to her apartment where he finds everything in a mess and Joseph lying on the floor. He calls Deborah at the diner, but her boss answers and tells him that Baby is coming. He then takes all his money inside the floorboards and takes Joseph to a nursing home. Finally, he apologizes to his foster father for disappointing him and leaves while the police are still looking for him. Baby immediately goes to the diner to get Deborah and sees Buddy sitting inside. He wants Baby to pay for having Darling killed and threatens to kill Deborah. At one point, a policeman enters the diner and goes to the bathroom. Buddy is distracted by another waitress and suddenly Baby grabs his gun and shoots him. When a policeman approaches Buddy and asks him if he's okay, Buddy shamelessly shoots him. Baby calls Doc from a payphone and the man tells him not to call them again. The couple steals a car from two Kippy boys and then goes to Doc's house. Baby asks Doc to return the boxes to him in exchange for the money stolen from the post office. Doc initially refuses, but then sees that he is with Deborah and agrees to give him the tapes. He also gives him some money to escape the country. When they get off the elevator, they see the butcher's men who want to kill him. Doc shoots them, but eventually he gets a bullet. Suddenly, Buddy arrives in a police car and runs Doc over. After that, he chases Baby. Baby fires a few shots and jumps over Buddy's car. Baby and Deborah jump into Doc's car and Buddy starts chasing them. Soon after, Baby pushes the other's car over the edge of the railing and knocks it over. Baby gets out of the car to see if Buddy is dead, but the latter appears from the side with a gun. Buddy shoots around Baby's ear to deafen him. Deborah hits him from behind to make him drop the gun. While Buddy is busy with Deborah, Baby picks up the gun and shoots him in the leg. Buddy falls over the car that fell earlier and dies. The next morning, Deborah and Baby set out on a trip and suddenly see a police blockade on the bridge ahead. She tries to run away, but Baby stops her. He kisses her, gets out of the car to surrender to the police. Baby is tried for the thefts. The cashier at the post office and the lady whose car Baby stole all testify on Baby's behalf. They all regard him as a non-threatening person. The judge sentences him to 25 years in prison with the possibility of parole in 5 years. While in prison, Baby receives letters from Deborah about the places they plan to visit when he gets out of prison. After 5 years, Baby finally gets out of prison and is reunited with Deborah. Thank you for watching till end. Make sure to subscribe and turn on the notifications to help the channel out.